Hello and welcome everyone, it's Capcan. Today we're looking at our Blood Death Knight talent tree from Dragonflight with Hard Strike as the first ability that costs 1 rune, gives us 10 runic power, instantly strikes the target and one other nearby enemy, causing some physical damage and reduces enemy movement speed by 20% for 8 seconds. So nothing new here. It's obvious that they are gonna put our baseline abilities as first abilities in the tree. Marrow Rend, smash the target, dealing 53% physical damage and generating 3 charges of Bone Shield. So Bone Shield surrounds you with a barrier of whirling bones, increasing armor by some portion. Each melee attack against you consumes a charge against last 30 seconds or until all charges are consumed. One of our main defensive abilities. And Blood Boil deals shadow damage and inflicts all enemies within 10 yards with Blood Plague, and that's one of our main AoE abilities, and they are all pretty standard. A Vampiric Blood embraces your undeath, increasing your maximum health by 30%, increasing all healing and absorbs received by 30% for 10 seconds, one of our main damage mitigation cooldowns. Crimson Scourge, your auto attacks on targets infected with your Blood Plague have a chance to make your next Death and Decay cost no runes and reset its cooldown. Can't really remember if that was the case. At least icon looks very familiar, which may be the case. Pretty good. Additional deaths and decays means more AoE damage and just lesser resource spent. Let's go with left part of the tree. Oh, so Blood Decay looks a little bit more interesting, at least in terms of layout of the talents. Ossuary. While you have at least 5 Bone Shield charges, the cost of Death Strike is reduced by 5 runic power. Additionally, your maximum runic power is increased by 10%. Okay, so increase for maximum runic power for Blood Death Knights seems way better than increasing your maximum runic power for Unholies, because you more often than not you may forget or don't really need to use your runic power ability straight off the cooldown when you reach the runic power threshold in order to use that ability. And being able to store a little bit more is definitely way better, and decrease in runic power costs for Death Strike is pretty good as well. If you're sitting on high amount of Bone Shields, which you probably are, or you probably at least can do if you need that, then Rune Tap. 1 rune costs 1 rune, gives 10 runic power, 25 seconds recharge, 2 charges, reduces all damage taken by 20%, force 4 seconds. Yeah, so that's pretty baseline stuff as well. Heartbreaker. Hard Strike generates 1 additional runic power per target hit, and then 2 additional runic power per target hit, which means you're generating more runic power, you're having more ways to defend yourself and to deal additional damage. Leeching Strike. Hard Strike heals you for 0.5 health for each enemy hit while affected by Blood Plague. Okay, so a little bit of additional sustain, and sustain that is not really that spiky and more of a constant sustain, which is very appreciated here. Blood Fist. Anti-magic shell heals you for 100% of the damage it absorbs. Very good on magic oriented encounters and in PvP. Then Blood Tap. 2 charges, 1 minute recharge. Consume the essence around you to generate 1 rune. Recharge time reduced by 2 seconds whenever a Bone Shield charge is consumed. So just additional rune generation here. And let's go. So that's our left part of the tree. Let's go with the center. So improved Vampiric Blood. Vampiric Blood's healing and absorb amount is increased by 5% and duration by 2 seconds, which means then it goes up to 10% by 4 seconds. And okay, so Vampiric Blood, 1.5 minutes cooldown. For 4 seconds it gets more duration instead of 10 seconds. And additional 10% healing and absorb, which is okay if you need to survive at some points from very big damage, and you need to heal as much as you can. You need that cooldown to be as powerful as it could be, then you probably want to take this stuff. Then dancing rune weapon. Summons a rune weapon for 8 seconds that mirrors your melee attacks and bolsters your defenses. While active, you gain 40% parry chance, 2 minutes cooldown, additional defensive cooldown, 4 as defensive and offensive cooldown. Improved heart strike. Heart strike damage increased by 15 by 30%. Okay, so a little bit more damage on the heart strike. Then it's not a little bit more for the heart strike itself, but it's not that much in terms of your whole damage throughput. Then we'll go with full bulwark. For each charge of bone shield increases your maximum health by 1%. Okay, additional health, again emphasizing for you to stay on high amounts of bone shields in order for you to have more maximum health. Hemostasis. Each enemy hit by blood boil increases the damage and healing done by your next death strike by 8%, stacking up to 5 times. So a 40% damage can be maxed. And each enemy hit by blood boil. Increases damage. Okay, so pretty good, of course, like for your AoEs and stuff. Improved bone shield. Bone shield increases your haste by 10%. All right, so that's you'll probably take it 100% of the time. Okay. Insatiable Blade goes after Dancing Rune Weapon. Dancing Rune Weapon generates 5 Bone Shield charges. When a charge of Bone Shield is consumed, the cooldown of Dancing Rune Weapon is reduced by 5 seconds. If this passive goes not only for the Bone Shield charges that the Dancing Rune Weapon generates itself, and it goes for the basic Bone Shield charges, it's very powerful. If it's just for these 5 stacks, it means that 25 seconds cooldown of the cooldown can be taken, which is pretty good as well, and generating some additional Bone Shield charges is definitely gonna be pretty good, like in PvP and in bursty encounters and stuff like that, or if you don't really have enough time in order to generate some of them, or if you're getting attacked pretty hard and stacks are just flying over you and you don't really have them, then it's gonna be pretty good. But again, with 2 minutes cooldown, it's not that much. But if Dancing Rune Weapon reduces its cooldown every time Bone Shield charge is consumed, then it's gonna be very, very good. Then we go with Blood Drinker or Consumption. Blood Drinker, 1 rune, 30 seconds cooldown, channel 3 seconds, drains some health from the target over 3 seconds. You can move, parry, dodge, or use defensives while channeling this ability. We've had that ability before. Or Consumption. Instant melee range, 30 seconds cooldown. Strikes all enemies in front of you with a hungering attack that deals pretty good attack power damage, physical damage, and heals you for 150% of that damage. Deals reduced damage beyond a target. So here we clearly can see that 1 is for single target and 2nd is for AoE. There is no questions. Voracious. Death Strikes healing is increased by 20% and grants you 15% leech for 8 seconds. If I'm correct, then we've had this before in our talents. Everlasting Bond. Summons 1 additional copy of Dancing Rune Weapon and increases its duration by 8 seconds. Okay, so that's where that's way more damage for you with this cooldown. Increases its duration by 8 seconds. Very good. So twice is the duration itself. Okay, so you can like make your Dancing Rune Weapon be up more, deal more damage, give you more parry chance through the more duration of the ability. Pretty cool. Reinforced Bones increases armor gained from Bone Shield by 10%. Okay, very good for you resisting the physical damage. And then we're gonna go with Death's Caress. 1 rune, instant cast, 6 seconds cooldown. Reach out with necrotic tendrils. Okay, so that's our like the not taunting ability, but just getting the enemy to aggro onto you from the distance. Yeah, 6 seconds cooldown, 30 yards range, 1 runic power, applies blood plague. Oh, wait a second. So it deals damage, applies blood plague to your target, and generates 2 bone shield charges. It didn't generate 2 bone shield charges before. At least that's what I think. If it did, then I'm a little bit stupid. Yeah, if it did, cool. If it didn't, even better. Relish in Blood. While Crimson Scourge is active, your next Death and Decay heals you for 24% of attack power health per bone shield charge, and you immediately gain 10 runic power while Crimson Scourge is active. Wait a second, Crimson Scourge, fuck's sake. Ah, shit. Oh, that's our Crimson Scourge. Your auto attacks on targets infected have a chance to make your Death and Decay cost no runes. Oh, okay. Okay, so if you have procced Death and Decay, it's gonna heal you per your bone shield charges, which means that that game wants you to have more bone charges up. Preservance of the Ebon Blade. When Crimson Scourge is consumed, you gain 3% versatility for 6 seconds. And it goes up to 6% probably, yes. Pretty interesting. More versatility, definitely gonna be probably gonna be picked in the PvP if you're playing in PvP. Rapid decomposition, holy shit. Your Blood Plague and Death and Decay deal damage 15% more often. Additionally, your Blood Plague leaches 50% more health. Yeah, so just better dots and better dots. Coagulopathy. Coagulopathy. Ah, shit. Enemies affected by Blood Plague take 5% increased damage from you, and Death Strike increases the damage of your Blood Plague by 25% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Okay, so it's just pretty good overall in all situations. Bloodworms. Your auto attacks have a chance to summon a Bloodworm. Bloodworms deal minor damage to your target for 15 seconds and then burst, healing you for 15% of your missing health. If you drop below 50% health, your Bloodworms will immediately burst and heal you. Yeah, so Bloodworms we've had before as well. It's pretty good for you for your additional survivability, a little bit of damage. Let's go with this part, I guess. Sanguine Ground. You deal 5% more damage and receive 5% more healing while standing in your Death and Decay. Pretty cool, just like more damage on top of all your damage and more healing. Okay. Red Thirst reduces the cooldown on Vampiric Blood by 1 second per 10 runic power spent, and then by 2 seconds per 10 runic power spent. Yeah, so that's if you need your panic buttons more often. Umbilicus Eternus. After Vampiric Blood expires, you absorb damage equal to 5 times the damage your Blood Plague dealt during Vampiric Blood. So it gains you very big shield. At least it can be big. And with the bigger uptime on Vampiric Blood, yeah, it's probably gonna be very good cooldown on your M+, especially because like your Blood Plague is gonna deal way more damage to multiple targets than only to one target, and that means that this shield is gonna be massive, or at least it's gonna be way bigger. And uptime of Vampiric Blood is good for M+ as well, because you can heal yourself way more often. It means that you cannot stress healer's mana as much. Then, okay, let's go with center part of the tree. Gorefiend Grasp. Shadowy tendrils coil around all enemies within 15 yards of a hostile or friendly target, pulling them to the target's location. So that's your AoE grip. Tightening Grasp. Enemies hit by Gorefiend Grasp take 5% increased damage from you for 15 seconds. Additionally, reduces the cooldown on Gorefiend's Grasp by 30 seconds. So it means every 1.5 minutes cooldown. So that's if you want more more AoE grips, then you're 100% taking this talent. Iron Heart, Blood Shield's duration is increased by 2 seconds, and it absorbs 20% more damage. Blood Shield. Blood Shield. Man, yeah. I guess I've maybe in a spec one. Nah, shit, I forgot what Blood Shield is. Okay, so just increases absorb of your Blood Shield. That's not Blood Plague, Umbilicus Eternus, absorb. Nah, that's the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Then we'll go with Bloodshot. While Blood Shield is active, man, wait a second. Where's that Blood Shield is? Is that some class ability? I'm not really good with names of this stuff, and I can pretty frequently just forget them. Still, can't really find the Blood Shield anywhere around here. So I guess Bloodshot, while Blood Shield is active, you deal 25% increased physical damage. Okay. That's all that I can say. Heartrend. Heart Strike has a chance to increase the damage of your next Death Strike by 20%. Okay. And then Purgatory, an unholy pact that prevents fatal damage instead absorbing incoming healing equal to the damage prevented, lasting 3 seconds. If any healing absorption remains when this effect expires, you will die. This effect may only occur every 4 minutes. So Purgatory is your cooldown to not die during the encounter. It gives you a way to live through the crucial critical damage. You're gonna take it on prog raiding and maybe on some PvP, but definitely not on M+. Then, or mostly not on M+, because it doesn't give you damage, it doesn't give you just steady sustained stuff. It relies on you going up to your 0 health. Now, a Mark of Blood, instant 15 yards range, 6 seconds cooldown. Places a Mark of Blood on an enemy for 15 seconds. The enemy's damaging auto attacks will also heal their victim for 3% of the victim's maximum health. Okay, so that's pretty cool stuff. And we've had something like that before. Tombstone, instant 1 minute cooldown. 1 minute cooldown, consume up to 5 bone shield charges for each charge consumed. You gain 6 runic power and absorb damage equal to 6% of your life for 8 seconds. That's if you have like immense bone shield generation and you don't really need them as much. You need more stuff to live through the burst damage, then you can probably use it, and especially if that damage is not physical damage. Shattering Bone. When Bone Shield is consumed, it shatters, dealing 10% of attack power shadow damage to nearby enemies. Yeah, so shattering your bone shield, this damage is tripled while you are within your death and decay. So you're probably 100% gonna take it if you're M+ing. And Bone Storm, okay, of course. So 1 minute cooldown, a Wheel of Bone and Gore batters all nearby enemies, dealing shadow damage every 1 second and healing you for 3% of your maximum health every time it deals damage. Lasts 1 second per 10 runic power spent, deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets. So yeah, that's just like very good AoE abilities that are gonna be useful for you, that are dealing damage, and maybe with like something like this, it's gonna be one of the best AoE setups. It's hard for me to say exactly, but it definitely, like, again, Blood, similar to the Unholy talent tree, Blood Decay doesn't really got any new stuff. It didn't get too much new stuff, at least. Maybe some bits here and there, but not as much. You have choice, but mostly it's like, here's your AoEs, here's your like cluster, here's your defensive cluster, here's your single target stuff. It's way more well defined. There are not as much of a surprise stuff. Still looks pretty good though. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my videos, to my channel. I hope you're having a good day, and goodbye.